Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is divestment with purpose, and you have arrived. Greetings and salutations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being here today. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. So recently, I did a video in which I briefly talked about FGM, female genital mutilation. Shortly after that video posted, I was contacted by one of my wonderful subscribers who thanked me for talking about it. But more importantly, she felt compelled to share her story for the sake of raising awareness, as well as helping others who've been through similar circumstances. This is Alina's story. I was 5 years old when I was taken to a basement-like room. I was asked to undress without being told why. Two older women held me down while a man who was referred to as a doctor used a razor to perform the procedure. The procedure she's referring to here is the mutilation, the cutting of her nether region. I was awake the entire time. I remember feeling confused, then scared. I cried and started to feel lightheaded, but no one acknowledged my fear. No one tried to comfort me. I was just a child, and something irreversible was done to me without my understanding or consent. This experience caused me intense physical pain, and the emotional trauma stayed with me long after the wounds had healed. I'm so glad you mentioned how it physically affects your body and the medical harm it creates for your entire life. You're not able to experience sexual pleasure. I have scar tissue. I've had external pain and other pain that I believe was caused by my experience. I often feel embarrassed because they cut so much. Alina also said she was looking forward to this video and mentioned how this is so important for many women, herself included, who've experienced FGM, to feel seen and acknowledged. Alina previously mentioned that she has dealt with her issues surrounding this matter, but wishes that no other girls continue to deal with this pain, even though it continues to happen every day without their consent. I would like to say a huge thank you to Alina for trusting me to tell her story. This couldn't have been easy, but I certainly appreciate her bravery in taking this chance to share her experiences. Now, this is my perspective. The process of indoctrination heavily relies upon misinformation, intimidation, assimilation, and the inability to ask questions. It's fueled by groupthink and rigid ideologies that make no sense to those on the outside looking in. I wouldn't be surprised at all if those two women had been through something similar at her age. But here they were, doing the same thing to yet another victim of FGM, all for the sake of compliance in a system that doesn't benefit girls and women, a system that sees girls and women as less than human, a system that looks at girls and women as tools of sexual pleasure and repopulation. A system that looks at the female form as a hindrance, but yet still gets to benefit from all that it has to offer. You're basically a resource. A system that looks at girls and women as maids, cleaners, and cooks who are not worthy of respect. I'm talking about a system that's hell-bent on letting you know what your place is in their patriarchal hierarchy. A system so entitled to women that it goes out of its way to provide you with 4 major types of female genital mutilation because you can't come as you are. They have to customize you based on their own sexual needs. Let's take a look at the 4 major types of FGM and what they truly entail. Type 1, this is the partial or total removal of the clitoral glands, which is a sensitive part of the female genitals, or the prepuce clitoral hood, which is the fold of skin surrounding the clitoral glands. Type 2, this is the partial or total removal of the clitoral glands and the labia minora. That's the inner folds of the vulva, with or without the removal of the labia majora. That's the outer folds of skin of the vulva. Type 3, also known as infibulation. This is the narrowing of the vaginal opening through the creation of a covering seal. The seal is formed by cutting and repositioning the labia minora or labia majora, sometimes through stitching, with or without the removal of the clitoral prepuce, clitoral hood, and glands. Type 4. This includes all other harmful procedures to the female genitalia for non-medical purposes, e.g., pricking, piercing, incising, scraping, and cauterizing the genital area, basically burning the genital area. Now, do these practices sound like these males have love for women? I really want you to think about this. There is definitely no concern for the well-being of these girls and women or the potential health risks linked to all these practices. These girls and women are simply expected to endure a lifetime of pain and suffering and just, get over it. And like I said in the previous video, there are no health benefits to FGM, just a lifetime of pain and suffering at the hands of those in positions of power. Let's take a listen to the following. Fair use YouTube, fair use.
Every day is important to raise awareness around FGM, but especially Zero Tolerance Day, which is February the 6th. Hi, my name's Alison. I look after ladies who have had female genital mutilation, otherwise known as FGM. I'm here to tell you what the effects can be from FGM. There are absolutely no health benefits for FGM, but it can cause serious harm. This can include constant pain and difficulty having sex, repeated infections which can lead to infertility, bleeding, cysts and abscesses, problems urinating or holding urine in, depression, anxiety and flashbacks. There also can be problems during labour and childbirth. These can be life-threatening for mother and baby. After having FGM, some girls may die or have severe infection. Please be aware there are services available to help you if you are having any issues around this matter. Please don't be frightened to contact. We are here to help.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zamjama, and I am proudly representing my beautiful land, Somalia. I was born and raised in Somalia. I grew up as a refugee, fleeing my country due to climate issues and conflict. As a child, my childhood consisted of my family and I riding on camels, searching for safety and a home, but every place we found was destroyed. And luckily our family got accepted and we found opportunity in the UK. And that's where I pursued my education, and my family and I were able to rebuild our life. Today I would love to share the mission that brought me to Miss World. I'm the founder of the Female Initiative Foundation, a project born from one of the most darkest moments of my life. I stand here today not just as a voice for the voiceless, but as a survivor of female genital mutilation. I speak for the millions of girls whose voices were silenced before they ever had the chance to live freely. I know what it feels like to have your rights taken away, to feel powerless and to be told that your voice doesn't matter. And I know there's a lot of people in the world who don't know what female genital mutilation is. And so I think it's really important that I raise awareness and I educate, and that was my main purpose at Miss World, was to teach people what female genital mutilation is. And I'd love to share with you guys the procedure that's done. I know that it's something that can be very uncomfortable, but I believe that it's something that the world needs to hear and needs to know. And I will explain to you this at first hand. I was 7 years old. I was outside playing with my friends when I was picked up. My clothes were ripped off, and I was taken to a room where 3 women waited with blades, scissors, and all tools. These women were not doctors, nor were they medically trained. Just tradition passed down through generations. They cut off my clitoris, the part of my body meant for womanhood. They then sliced away the inner labia and the outer labia. I remember I screamed in pain because during the procedure there's no anesthesia used, no comfort, only blood and loud silence. I remember crying and begging, but the woman told me to be quiet, to be brave, and to be proud, as that was part of our tradition. Once the cutting was done, my skin was stitched back together with thick thread or thorn, leaving only a tiny part of hole, barely enough for urine or blood to pass through. This process is called infibulation and is one of the most severe forms of FGM. After the procedure, I was laid in a dark room with my legs tightly tied together. So after the procedure, I was laid in a dark room with my legs tightly together for days. And I remember I was in a room and I was bleeding every day. I had no toys, I had nothing. I only had charcoal next to me, and I used to draw on the wall next to me, and I'd just draw my dreams away just to keep me alive, because that part after the procedures where a lot of girls die and they don't make it out alive. That moment changed me forever, and my childhood came to an end. I survived, but many of girls didn't, and they don't. I stand here today for the joy that my mother couldn't reap her love. For generations, our mothers, our grandmothers, and the women before them endured this pain in silence. They were taught that suffering is part of being a woman and that this is normal. But it's not normal. It's not okay, and it's not part of our destiny. I know that I cannot change my past, but I can fight for their future, and I know the consequences that come with that. But I get so many messages from little girls from my country telling me that they're going to be getting female genital mutilation done soon. "98% of women in Somalia have undergone female genital mutilation. 98% is a very big number, and that 2% are just the infants that have not reached the age to be cut yet. That's a whole nation of women in my country. And through my foundation, I bring awareness, I go into community and I do public speaking. I teach mothers that that tradition should never come at the cost of a child's body or soul. We can honor our traditions without having to harm our little daughters. I also created a sisterhood of survivors back home in the UK. Most of them my closest friends. We cry together, we heal together, but most importantly, we use our voices. We fight as we believe that our voices can protect the next generation. I want to protect all the young girls from blades that should never touch them. No little girl should go from playing outside to bleeding in a dark room. And the crown that I wear as Miss Somalia doesn't just represent beauty, but to me it represents responsibility, it represents truth. And I wear it for Fortune, I wear it for Deqa. Fortune and Deqa, both full of life and dreams, whose family I interviewed. Both of them bled to death from this same horror. Their hearts stopped beating because somebody thought that tradition was way more important than their lives. Their bodies couldn't survive what mine barely did. And so, no matter what the consequences is, I'll continue to keep fighting until I see change and until I see the world talk about it. Thank you so much.
Now, let's take a look at the long-term complications of FGM. Number 1, urinary problems. And this includes painful urination and urinary tract infections. Number 2, vaginal problems. And this includes vaginal discharge, itching, bacterial vaginosis, and other infections. Number 3, menstrual problems. This includes painful menstruation, difficulty in passing menstrual blood, etc. Let me just make a quick side note. Women can have some of these issues with or without FGM. However, in cases of FGM, they are made worse by the unnecessary tampering of the vulva. Number 4, scar tissue and keloid. And just a little side note, Black and brown people are prone to keloids in comparison to white people. Keloids are overgrowths of scar tissue that extend beyond the original injury. If you are of African, Asian, or Hispanic descent, and I know Hispanic is not a country or a continent, but you know what I mean. These groups of people are prone to keloids. Just for context, keloids seem to affect people of darker skin tones. Number 5, sexual problems. So, pain during sex and decreased satisfaction, which goes without saying under these circumstances. I mean, if you're uncomfortable or feeling pain during intercourse, how's that enjoyable? Also, tampering with the clitoris, which is what happens when they snip it off, means the most sensitive part of your vulva is gone. The clitoris is the main source of a woman's orgasm. The primary purpose of a woman's clitoris is to provide sexual pleasure. Don't listen to any of these males or some of these women who claim that women get their pleasure from the G-spot. No such thing exists, and science has already debunked that nonsense. But I digress. Number 6, increased risk of childbirth complications, which includes difficult delivery, excessive bleeding, the need for C-section, and the need to resuscitate the baby, etc. And of course, newborn deaths. Number 7, there's also a need for later surgeries in certain cases. Women with type 3 might require deinfibulation, which is opening the infibulated scar to allow for sexual intercourse and childbirth. Number 8, psychological problems such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD, low self-esteem, etc. So, what's the point of all of these practices? Why put women and girls through such cruelty? According to the World Health Organization, the reasons FGM is performed vary from one region to another and also include a mix of sociocultural factors within families and communities. Point number 1. Where FGM is a social convention or social norm, the social pressure to conform to what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community, are strong motivations to perpetuate the practice. Point number 2. FGM is often considered a necessary part of raising a girl and a way to prepare her for adulthood and marriage. This can include controlling her sexuality to promote premarital virginity and marital fidelity. Well, that makes a lot of sense. What could possibly go wrong with a girl or a woman's vital organs being cut off for the comfort of the male fragile ego? Just unbelievable. Absolutely disgusting. Point number 3. Some people believe that the practice has religious support, although no religious scripts prescribe the practice. Religious leaders take varying positions with regard to FGM, with some contributing to its abandonment. Obviously, the little they do isn't effective or good enough to make a difference. Try harder. Religion has played a great part at subjugating women. There's a lot of disrespect, a lot of abuse towards women where religion is concerned. And males take advantage of that fact through the positions they hold. Women, in a lot of these circumstances, have been conditioned to listen to men without questioning the validity of what it is that they have to say. The truth of the matter is, FGM is a complete violation of the human rights of women and girls. It's all about controlling women and girls and making sure that they fall in line with what men want. As I've mentioned before, all roads lead to sex or the preparation of young girls and women for a life of sexual servitude. It would take a change in attitude and a deeper understanding of the pain and suffering of girls and women in order for this system to be dismantled. Here's another stat from the World Health Organization. Treatment of the health complications of FGM is estimated to cost health systems $1.4 billion a year, a number expected to rise unless urgent action is taken towards its abandonment. Sadly, and I hate to say this, but it's going to have to be up to women to keep fighting for the end of this very cruel practice. Men aren't affected by this. Therefore, they couldn't care less about this issue. As it stands, they are benefiting from it. Why would they care? Because here's the thing. No matter what happens, their lives are still intact, and life goes on for them as usual. Once again, we're left in a situation where women have to attempt to clean up a mess that was created for the benefit and enjoyment of male terrorists. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Alina for coming forward and allowing me to share her story. Please consider my words when I say the following. Carrying shame over what happened to you is an unjust and unfair burden to carry. You are a child. Children cannot consent. And while I do realize that I don't have the experience or the right to tell you or anyone else in your position how to feel, I will say this. The betrayal of trust that adults exhibit towards children in these situations is something that should haunt the betrayer and not the betrayed. Women who participate in these atrocities while hiding behind cultural norms will not be excused for lending a hand to this type of abuse. If other women are brave enough to fight this, why can't you? Why must you be a mammy?
I am a survivor of female genital mutilation, and I remember as clear as yesterday, at age 12, I was subjected to the cut by a healthcare provider. It's very clear her putting on gloves. I'm on the ground. People are celebrating as if it was a celebration, but to me it was a lot of pain, intimidation, and that made me realize there's a need to speak up and there's a need to end the cycle. Being a nurse, I've been able to work with a bigger population. I've been working at different levels of care, and this has enabled me to reach out to the community in terms of how do you end violence. The World Health Organization has a new curriculum on person-centered communication, which brings healthcare workers at par. It's an opportunity for us to change our views as community people and then reach out to the community at all departments of health, and it has worked. I've been able to break the cycle where my two girls are not cut, 16 and 14 years, and I've reached to more than 200 girls and saved them from undergoing the cut. You all have a responsibility. A call to all healthcare workers for zero tolerance against female genital mutilation. Let us come up. Let us speak person-centered communication and start this conversation of ending female genital mutilation in our community. If I did it, you can do it, we can do it, we can end FGM.
Love and light to all the girls and women who've been affected by such atrocities. And thank you, Alina, for sharing your story. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And think about this, ladies. If men were so superior to women, why would they need to use manipulative tactics to keep us in check? If we were not a threat in one way or another, why would they need to stand guard and block our freedom to exist in our truest form? You know, some studies have suggested that the most common recent ancestor of all men lived around 59,000 years ago, and the female ancestor lived around 143,000 years ago. Now, if we were here first, and I believe we were, there's plenty of scientific evidence that suggests we were. My question is, when did things go wrong? And are we able to find out the truth? Food for thought. Thank you so much for watching and listening. You've been watching Divestment with Purpose. Divest from Blackistan. Divest from individuals and circumstances that no longer serve you. Divest like a butterfly, and I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.